Welcome to Camp Code, a podcast brought to you by Go Camp Pro. After 11 years of podcasting, is there anything left to say? You bet, because just like how people grow and change, so does our industry. Each and every year, there are new challenges, new ways of handling situations, new advice from those doing the work, and new ideas to share. Our commitment to intentional leadership training has only grown stronger. So join us for season 12 of Camp Code as we once again do all that we can to help you develop your best ever leadership training. Running camp should be about people, not paperwork. UltraCamp helps you manage staff, registration, and communication in one place, so you spend less time on tasks and more on camp. Find out more at ultracampmanagement.com/campcode. We're back. Season 12. So before we dive into this all-important topic today, we're just going to take a quick moment to introduce ourselves. So Gabrielle, could you go first, please?
Yes. Hey, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. And what is my intro? It is my name. My name is Gabz. I'm one of the directors of Camp Ouareau. My pronouns are she, her, elle. And Camp Ouareau is an all-girls camp where we try to create a positive environment for gender inclusivity. Oh my gosh, team, it's year 12. I know this, but I'm just happy to be back. And I work at an awesome camp.
And Gab just finished her awesome camp a little over 2 weeks ago, so she's still a little brain dead, so I think you all can appreciate that. I'm Beth Allison. I'm co-owner of Camp Hacker and Go Camp Pro, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm a camp consultant and trainer, and as every year, I'm totally passionate about leadership training. So I'm very excited to introduce my partner in crime who did a lot of leadership training with me back in the day. Our special guest today is someone all Go Camp Proers know very well. Travis, could you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. My name is Travis Allison. My pronouns are he and him, and I am co-owner of Go Camp Pro with Beth. It would be an interesting topic, maybe, Beth, to talk about co-leading staff training with two very different styles.
That would be a good one. We should do that someday for sure. All right, we'll have you back at some point. All right.
Love it. I will also say, just as part of the introduction, I'm co-host of Camp Hacker, formerly with Gab, right now with Chris Hudson, and also The Pudding on the Go Camp Pro network.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, before we get into the reason for our podcast today, because this is our first one of the season, Gab, how was your summer? Any standout moments where you thought, staff need to have more support?
It was the list of times. It was summer camp. No, I think I'm feeling like last year was the first year where I felt I was starting to understand our staff and kids. And this year we were able to put into practice some of that understanding. So the foundation feels like it's being solidified again. And as usual, camp promises to teach you many lessons, which I'm excited to chat about with in season 12. But as a whole, it was a great summer. But I still have my clothes in my suitcases right now. So I'm excited to do some laundry too.
Fair enough. And how about you, Travis? Any standout moments from your summer, or things that you went, young people are going to need support in this area, or?
So a couple things. I think I would echo what Gab said. It feels, in talking to camp directors, this summer finally feels like people have a staff they can build on. And that hasn't happened since 2019. And so I've heard a lot of people say that. And so I think that's important. I think the other thing in terms of young people, we can have Etienne put this in the show notes, but I found this really great thing on LinkedIn that was why Gen Z hates feedback or evaluations. And it was really fascinating. The biggest point of it, the biggest aha for me was that because of social media from the time that they were 10 or 11, whenever they got their first smartphones, they are sick and tired of being evaluated all the time and just constantly being on that. And that sort of feeling related to camp in some ways feels like a betrayal or, asking what the public asks of them. And so it's a really interesting way to think about feedback. It really comes back to things that the two of you have been saying forever, a collaborative form of evaluation, et cetera. So that's just some of the stuff I've been thinking about related to staff since the summer.
Perfect. And you've been busy lately putting together lots of support for camp directors. I know you've been working on it all summer, but can you tell us a bit about this project that you've been working on and why you feel the need to have created it for us?
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, I've been working on it since the new year. It's been 9 months of thinking about this. It was the summer that kind of fell into place. And it is the Resilient Camp Blueprint. And it is something that I'm hoping that camps will pick up on. The thing I keep hearing from camp directors is it's so hard for us to make change when we feel this exhausted. And camp directors are overworked and overwhelmed 12 months a year now instead of 4 or 5. And so I've been trying to think about how to frame some of the things that I've been passionate about and talking about for a long time, lean style management, AI, et cetera. But I've realized that those are the tools, and we need to have a mindset related to being resilient and making the changes in our camps that will mean that our camps are here longer, doing better, having more impact on kids. For me, the important part is that camp directors don't have to feel this way. Don't have to feel this exhausted. We can make things a tiny bit better and a tiny bit better and a tiny bit better if we're intentional and thoughtful about that. And that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing camp directors the tools to get past that overwhelm and get into something really makes a big difference for your camp.
Perfect. And we're going to stop for a quick break to hear from our sponsor. But when we come back, we're going to be diving into this topic and into all the things Travis just sort of alluded to, because that's the stuff that I think you folks want to hear. So we'll be right back. For Camp Code listeners, unlock UltraCamp's Operations Checklist for new directors, a free download to help you prepare for a smooth season. Find it at ultracampmanagement.com/campcode. Running camp comes with countless moving parts. UltraCamp helps you stay on top of them. Organize activities and daily schedules, manage wait lists and cabin assignments, automate billing and payments, centralize all camper and staff info in one place. With UltraCamp, camp operations run smoother, so directors can lead with confidence. Book your free customized demo at ultracampmanagement.com/campcode. Okay, we are back. So we're really going to dive into this now. I am very proud of my husband because he used a really cool acronym in this. And I know that Ruby would be thrilled to know about the alliteration in another part of this blueprint. So do you want to tell us a bit about those, Travis?
Well, sure. The blueprint itself has 5 big principles, and I'm going to read my notes just to make sure I get them all in order. First of all, we focus on how we make impact, how we impact our staff and our campers and our camp community, and we evaluate things against that. The next principle is that we want things to be simple with constant improvements. Talked about that on Camp Code before, this lean management thing. And we're thinking about ways to connect with the community, et cetera. In terms of the acronym, it's a way to evaluate what's going on at your camp every day. And the first thing is what needs safeguarding. So that's P. My acronym is PATH. So P is protect, what needs safeguarding today. A is amplify, what is working and how can we get more of that. T is trim, what's overcomplicated or underperforming or not leading to more impact for our campers and staff. And then the final part of PATH is humanize. How do we make sure that the things we're doing are based on what is best for people and what builds trust and connections with families, campers, and staff?
Perfect. And the alliteration one?
Can we?
The alliteration?
Oh, Gab has a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Gab.
Just so I can dive in a little bit. But I love the the protect and trim, because it's something that I've talked that we have talked about before, which is what do we want to keep, what do we want to get rid of, and amplify and humanize, centering people and letting people know. I think that for camps, for camps that are looking at their mission and then the how to accomplish their mission, sometimes those two aren't always aligned. So when I see this, especially path, it really goes with what is your North Star? What is your compass?
Mm-hmm.
This is how we can accomplish our mission. And when you have your mission at heart, and then this sort of path or tool that you can use, I think this is a really wonderful way of evaluating what you're doing at your camp, and also within your staff training, telling your staff every year we do evaluate, and these are our goals, and this is what supports our core mission, which is whatever your core mission is. So I love path. I think this is it's the path to your mission, and we have to keep utilizing it so we can fine tune what we're doing. And Travis, you've taught me the trim. That's something that I add, and I'm like, no, we need to
And
we
never
need to
cut away.
trim. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Gab. The alliteration one is, I was thinking about what are all the elements it takes to run camp around staff and facilities and all of that, and trying to think of a way to give people a tool to think about that. And I built it into a compass rows, ones that have more than just 4 points on it. And so the 4 main points are the things you focus on first, and then the others are the bonuses. There's a lot of that in the Resilient Camp Blueprint. Focus on this, and if you get to this other thing, that's great. So the North Star in this is people. So this is staff, how we make kids comfortable, how we gain trust with parents. The second one is program. I think that's obvious. Place, that's your facilities. That's how things are set up. That's how people move through your space easily. How we make drop off for parents easier and less frustrating. And then the fourth of the big compass rose points is protection. So that's the element of running camp that is insurance and emergency procedures and setting up emergency communication systems, etc. And then the other 4 pieces, again, we'll put that in the show notes. I don't need to go through all of those, but those 4 things I think are the most important parts of the job of being camp director.
Did you have anything you wanted to add there, Gab, before I move on?
Is it? Can you repeat them again? Is it people, place, programs, protect?
That's right.
So
Protection.
it's like
Protection.
protect.
Yep.
I love that.
He is pretty smart.
Yeah, the 4 P's.
All right. So then what is the takeaway for camp leaders? Why is this resilient camp? What does it matter, this blueprint?
Well, it matters because you're a better camp director if you can breathe, you can be creative, you can be rested and lead. And resilient camps recruit smarter, they retain their campers and staff longer, and the directors have space for creative thought, creative problem solving, and taking on big picture things and even the little changes. One of the things that I was really careful about is that, specifically when I started talking about camp directors should use AI, one of the, some people are like, we don't want to lose that human touch. And a huge part of this Resilient Camp Blueprint and all the tools, including AI, is you want to clear the stuff off your plate that isn't the most beneficial, isn't the most suited to your skills. Anything you can automate, get rid of it. What this means is more time to care for people. You can look after people better if you get that exhausting stuff off your plate, the stuff that you repeat from scratch every year. Just set up a system to not do that. Just make it a little better every year, but it gives you time. And I think often about a phone call. I don't even know if I've talked about this before, but I think about a phone call that I had with a mom who really wanted to send their son to camp. And this is before smartphones and, shortly after email. I ended up spending more than an hour on the phone with this mom who was crying. She wanted to send her kid, but she was so scared. And because I wasn't exhausted and overwhelmed, I was able to just say, okay, I'll give you as much time as you need. And I think that'd be incredibly hard for camp directors with all the pressures on them right now. And my hope is this blueprint gives you space for that. Not just the parents, but staff, whatever, whoever needs it can have the people care that most of us are really good at.
I think Travis, one of your skill sets is that you see patterns, and I think that we saw that with COVID. You created a community of support and marketing. You worked with Joanna Warren Smith to help camp directors market their camps a little bit better. I think that I'm wondering, is this we haven't had a chance to chat, so I don't know, but is this a inspiration from patterns that you've seen from people that you've talked to, or that, I mean, I'm seeing it with myself, and so I can speak for myself. I think what I'm hearing is also streamlining, be smart, listen to your frustrations, see what you can do about them. Do you need it or not? I think also it's that sometimes we need to give time to our parents, but sometimes we need to say, maybe this is not the camp for you. I feel the same way about I do with staff as I do with families. I'm like, listen, maybe we're like, go away. I only have 500 spots. Like
Mhm.
this, maybe like just trying to make things a little bit easier. Were you inspired by from COVID, maybe camp directors being burnt out, kind of keep trying to climb up the mountain and then the mudslide happening and you sliding back down? I'm just curious where this comes from.
It definitely comes from patterns of things I've heard. I think since COVID, there is no camp director I know who isn't overworked and overwhelmed. There's a couple, but
Yeah.
most are that. And the thing that was a pattern that I really seen is that people need the space to do the things that are, in the heartfelt things about being a camp director,
Mhm.
and they weren't getting a chance to do it. I think that that need for time, creative energy, and time to care really is coming through in everybody I talk to. I will say that one of the things that really shook me up and made me start to think I have to think bigger picture than my job until now, which is to help more campers go to camp, is a statistic that came from the Foundation for Jewish Camps. And I heard it in 2024. They had done some research, and through all of their camps, they've, and I think this pattern applies, definitely matches everything I've heard anecdotally. In 22 and 23, 60% of year-round leadership at summer camps changed. So
Mm.
if you have 60% to two-thirds of your industry is brand new in the last 3 years, they don't have the knowledge. They're already overworked and overwhelmed, but they don't have the backup systems. And it's camp, so no one has bothered to, write all the stuff down that a camp director would need to know. And so that just made me think we've got to be better. I think so many long-term camp pros got their camps through the lockdowns and got their camps back up and running again, just started to rebuild and then had to pull the chute. And it's
Yeah.
like, it can't anymore.
I think it's such an important part within our industry is to talk about that. And I think just even this podcast before recording, Beth and I are talking and we're trying to gear up with, we're excited. We're excited to do this show. It's nice because we are friends and so we get to connect this way. But I always learn from doing these shows, and it helps me keep focused on what I'm doing and pushes myself. So I am excited about doing them. But we were talking about maybe we can start recording a little bit later. My brain fog is still present. My energy, it's not that I don't want to be here. It's an actual capacity thing. And I think that camp directors are not only managing staff and getting people into their camps and the septic system and bus schedules, but also boards, also fundraising, also, r- re- you know, Gen Z not wanting to get feedback because of social media, nothing to do with them and nothing to do with you, and having to adapt and figure things out. And I think it's such a I think this is I don't know, I'm just saying I think this is why we do the work that we do. We're trying to also support each other within the work that we're doing because it's important. And I'm looking forward to seeing the blueprint. especially for some of other camp directors that are very passionate, that might be younger, that might have inherited a poop show because it's post-COVID and somebody had to leave, and things aren't written and people need to take burnout leave, and it's tough. So I think the more tools we can have, the better. Of course, I'm excited about it.
All right. So if we were to wrap up this podcast, Travis, do you have final thoughts, like things you want to make sure that we all take away from this time with you?
Well, I think if you go back to Path and the north part of the compass, we want to humanize. We want to focus on the people stuff first. That gives camp people energy. It helps us be motivated to take on bigger problems. But if you think about that, the culture of our camp is what sustains us. When people, probably 2015 to 2019, started to find it so much harder to recruit staff members, the camps that had stunning cultures didn't have the same level of problems. And they didn't have to start from scratch. They had a solid base. They had a staff return rate sometimes of 70%. And that's because of culture. So culture, people all wrapped into one. I think that making your life easier in the new year starts with taking a deep breath, acknowledging the amount of overwhelm and exhaustion you feel right now, and taking on a few things a little earlier in the season. So you've got to treat fall and winter as the real retention season for both campers and staff. And when you wait until the new year to start that stuff or to sort of get the interviews going, whatever it is, you end up with just more overwhelm and more exhaustion. The other
Love
thing,
that.
this is hard because this is the opposite of the people stuff. When you build systems, you make it easier to survive as a camp pro. And so that's why I really want people to think about what are the simplest possible changes they can make to make themselves a little better. In the new workbook that I put out, Less Overwhelm and More Impact, I talk a lot about 2-second lean, which is just a philosophy that everybody's responsible to make your organization 2 seconds better every day. It's such a small little bit to bite off, but creating those systems, even simple stuff like moving a clipboard that you would need on opening day closer to where that person would need it, that's a 2-second improvement that makes somebody's life better. I think all of this leads up to a stability for the industry and for individual camps facing an even more uncertain future. Or the work that we do is incredibly important. For many of us, it's been life-saving. And if we can just try to work through small, little positive changes, we get better all the time.
Perfect. Anything else you want to add, Gab, before we do the big recap?
I'll do it in the recap.
All right. Let's give it to you then. Take it away.
Recap. I'd like to start with, you had me at not being so tired. I'm interested right there. And I think it's a really good place to start. A lot of the times camp directors, they don't want to start with themselves. You're like, what about the other people? But Travis is suggesting, what about you? Where's your sparkle? What's your excitement about camp? Get reconnected with that, because that's important. It's going to fuel the compass, the 4 Ps, which people, place, programs, and protection. And to help following that compass, you have a path that you can follow, protect, amplify, and humanize and trim. I'm dyslexic, so some things are going to be spelled a little bit backwards. But most importantly, the main goal, main mission is, if you touch base with what's going to make you happy, what's going to make your life easier, then we can trim at camp, making it more efficient. Guess what? Camp directors, when you take breaks, that's going to be helpful for your mental space. It's going to be helpful for your staff to be role modeled. You're going to be able to think big picture ideas. You might even be able to help your board be a little bit smarter themselves. You can bring that to them. At the end of the day, if your life is a little bit easier, you're just going to have the time and space to do what is needed for your camp. And that's to build community. And that creates a full circle for you, hopefully. Thanks for listening.
Perfect. Excellent recap. First one of the season. All right. So here's how you can get involved. You can let us know any topics you'd like us to discuss, or any guests you recommend that we could have on the show, or any great leadership training tips that you would like to share with us. We would love to hear from you, because we're all about sharing in this industry. And if you found our podcast to be useful, we would love it if you could leave us a rating and review in your podcasting app. So here's how you can get in touch with each of us individually. So Gab, where would they find you?
You can check out where I work at ouareau.com, and you can also contact me at info@ouareau.com, and Ouareau is spelled Ouareau.
Perfect. Thank you. Travis, where can they find you?
You can find me at gocamp.pro. You can search your podcast apps for Camp Hacker or The Pudding, which is our show where we talk about the research in the camp industry and how we can apply it in our jobs. And I'd also love to hear topics and things you want us to talk about on those shows.
You don't use ours for your thing.
That's the guest hosting prerogative.
You can email me directly at beth@gocamp.pro or find me on Instagram at topaz_fae, F-A-E. And for our next podcast, we're going to be talking about building community with those who work on the outer parts of camp, kitchen staff, maintenance, people who are driving to the airport and back, all of those sorts of things. And as you know, the final thing we do in each podcast is to have a best practice. And of course, we're going to use Travis's brain for this and give this over to him.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So one other alliterative element of the blueprint is a problem diagnostic tool. And someone very wise that I love very much once said to me, you know, that the root of all problems in the world are self-esteem problems. I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Beth said it. But I thought about it differently. I was like, well, it's not every problem. But I have come to find when thinking about it more that it's one of the elements, the huge element of systemic problems in camp and the world, self-esteem. I have two other S's. We're known for the 4 S's. I have the 3 S's that apply to the blueprint. So the first thing, so any problem at camp, you look at it and say, is this a self-esteem problem? Does somebody need some building up, some reassurance, etc.? The other one is this a systems problem? So have we created problems at camp because we don't have a good enough system around this particular small issue? Maybe it's drop off, maybe it's cleaning the tables, making it sure that all of the kids' bags are packed after lunch in the pavilion. That's a systems thing. And then the third element is structures of power. And that really is thinking about things like how we relate to people based on our perception of them, on their sexual orientation, on the color of their skin, etc. So have we created this problem because we've ignored the structure of power, or we have tacitly embraced the structure of power in the way we do things? But if you look at those 3 things, you'll find that the answer is in those. I haven't found a problem that I looked at that didn't fit into one of those 3 categories, and usually 2.
I love that.
Smart man. He's a smart man.
Not bad. Not bad.
So that's it for today, everybody. Camp Code is part of the Go Camp Pro podcast network, and you can check out all our other podcasts at gocamp.pro/podcasts. And thanks, Travis, for sharing all of your brain work with us and for taking so much time and heart to put together these things for people in the industry. And we thank all of you folks for all you did this past summer to give your campers and staff the best experience possible. You are making a real difference in this world, and our world needs it. We'll chat soon. Thanks for the listening, friends. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.